Let's take a look at the leadership reports that are available in mCLASS. We're going to take a look at join Dr. Patricia Chang as she comes into the mCLASS platform. Now, as a district administrator, she could click on the reading tab and see the exact same classroom reports that teachers, principals will be able to see, and even look from any school to any class. But we're going to focus on the reporting system, our reporting and analytics suite. Here, as we come down into it, the first thing we would see are any reports that Dr. Cheng may have saved, or any reports that may have been sent to her. She can also send reports to others. As we look into the reports, we could see that we have a number of templates from which to develop custom reports. One of the important ones I just want to mention in passing is that you can always access all of your raw data, downloading that into a CSV in order to upload it into your own reporting platforms for your own analysis elsewhere. Among these 5 different kinds of reports, let's imagine the following: that Dr. Chang is planning an upcoming professional learning experience for all the teachers in her district. So she's curious about how we're doing on the specific skills in early literacy. As we bring up the comparing measures report, we could take a look at this report by a lot of different levels. I have a small district here. We could be doing this at a state level, if appropriate, or at a district level. We could look at a school. We could run this report by teacher or by class. As you can see, we'd be able to select the schools, select the teachers, but let's run it at a district level. In the case where we're really looking at a lot of historical data, we might want to decide if we want the matched cohorts for enrollment. We always have that option. We could select the grades. Let's imagine this PD is for grade 1 and 2 teachers, so we'll choose those. We'll do this school year. We would have the option also of bringing up past school years, depending on the kind of data that we have. And let's imagine we want to take a look. We've just finished off the middle of the year data. Let's take a look at beginning and middle of year. But not all the measures, not the reading risk. Let's just focus here on the letter sounds, the decoding, and the word reading. And so with that, we could run the report, or we could filter further by any number of student filters. So for example, if we only wanted to look at the skills relative to our ELL status, or relative to any of the other programs that we've uploaded into our demographics, we could. In fact, Dr. Chang could add additional custom fields through the implementation process and then have that data uploaded with all the student enrollment data. And then she'd be able to track even very, very specific district programs by filtering on them. We're not going to use any of the student filters and instead run the report. So here we are. We've got our grade 1 and our grade 2, the specific literacy skills. And for each, we have beginning and middle of year stacked against each other in bar graphs. Red, yellow, green, blue, just as we've seen in all the classroom reports. Underneath each bar, we could see that at the beginning of the year, 68%, as you can see, it's a small sample size, but 68% of our students were running well below the benchmark on their letter sounds, and that was specifically 33 students. We've made some pretty significant progress from beginning of year to middle of year. We can see we have many more students who are at the benchmark, especially in word reading fluency. We see some strong improvements there. And if we look into second grade, we could also look at that data. But for our PD, maybe there's a lot going on here. So of our different options on the top, let's just edit our parameters again. And let's just look at the middle of the year so that we see our situation where we are right now. So this is just a very clean for decision making. If I wanted to right now, I could export it to a CSV file. And then again, this exact data could be imported elsewhere. We could PDF it and either utilize that at a meeting or use that to create slides. We could actually share this with somebody else. So maybe send a link to another administrator and they would then log in. It would run the report for them automatically, or I could save it for further examination. Each of these different bars, I could click on it and drill down to see who the students are. So I might really want to find out the students who are well above benchmark in the word reading fluency to think about if I want to invite their teacher to present at the professional learning. And again, I have all of their scores going on and I can export everything. Let's take a quick look at the other reporting templates very briefly to understand what they do. The first one is when we just want to see our results. It could be the current period. It could be we could look at this year versus last year versus the previous year. Again, here on this slide, we have it done by district, but that could have been by school, class, teacher, again, even at any level that we need. We could look at this year versus last year. We could look at different periods over different years and think about whether or not we want matched cohorts and how we want to manage our enrollment. Like the reports that we've just seen, we have the ability to change a lot of the different parameters, including the custom filters, export the data, a PDF for either meetings or for creating slides, or share this. Now, this is particularly, in my opinion, one of the wonderful things here is, in the theme that we have of mCLASS, that we really want to enable data conversations. A district leader thinking about an upcoming principal meeting could take a report and then share it with all of the principals who are going to be attending the meeting. Each principal will get in their own inbox a link. When they follow that link, that will take them to log into mCLASS. Once they're past the password protection, it'll run the report. At that point, they have the ability to edit the report and make their own discoveries and potentially come into the meeting with a lot to say, maybe even a different view than the original administrator who sent it to them. The next report is actually a district favorite. It allows us to understand the effectiveness. It's called the correlation report, and it helps us understand the effectiveness of our program. This report allows us to look at a set of students across two different time periods in order to really be able to measure the effectiveness of our instruction and to be able to see, are we moving our students? So in this section that I've highlighted here, imagine that we were looking at the same cohort of students, how they had done at the beginning of the year on their overall composite reading risk, and then how they did at the middle of the year. As you can see, there were 1,200 students running in the red or well below benchmark at the beginning of the year. And by the middle of the year, 25% of these students have moved all the way up to benchmark and well above benchmark. And that's awesome. And we've moved another 14% into below the benchmark. And I think that's also great. But 61% of our students in need of intensive intervention are still there. So we really might want to take a closer look at what our intervention processes are and what we are doing for these students. Similarly, I can look at the effectiveness of our core program. At the beginning of the year, we had 500 students who were at the benchmark. And by the second period, the middle of the year, those students, 4% of them are now at and above. So things are going pretty well. But there are 25% of students who are slid backward into needing support. And we might want to think about what happened there. Was it just that we thought they were on track and we weren't paying close enough attention? Or was there something going on in our program that we might want to examine further? Next, we have a pair of Fidelity reports. So this report is answering for an administrator, are we done with our benchmark? So if we're at the middle of a benchmark window and we see that we're 50% complete, that's just fine. But if we're nearing the end of the benchmark window and we're only running at 50% complete, we might want to start drilling down a little bit further to find out which schools, which teachers, and maybe see where we can offer a little bit of support. Either it could be PD around assessing. It could be that we just need a few more hands in the game to get a few classes completed. Progress monitoring, of course, is absolutely tied to student growth. So as an administrator, I definitely want to know if my teachers are progress monitoring at the expected rates. This will allow me as a school or as a district to set up what is the target frequency. We could be using the recommendations from the University of Oregon for DIBELS 8th edition, or we could set up our own policies. And then we will be able to see the pace of the progress monitoring for our well below students and below students, or really any students that we've selected, and see how we're doing across the board.